Welcome, deep divers. Great to have you with us again. Today, we're diving into something maybe not flashy, but honestly crucial for our planet's health, the global wastewater filtration equipment market. We're going to look at how it's growing, where it's growing fastest, really unpack the whole thing. Our source for this deep dive is the Global Wastewater Filtration Equipment Market Projections report from Cognitive Market Research. And our mission, as always, is to pull out the key takeaways, maybe some surprising facts, and give you a solid understanding of this vital industry fast. So let's kick off with the big picture, the global numbers. Back in 2021, we're talking sales revenue of 31,003.4 million. Let's just call it $31 billion. Jump forward to 2025, the projection is over $38.4 billion. And then look out to 2033. It's expected to hit an impressive $58.9 billion. That's a steady growth, a compound annual growth rate, or a PAGR of about, 5.5%?
Yeah, nearly 5.5%. And these numbers, they're not just big figures on a page, right? They really tell a story. This growth signifies a huge global shift, a recognition that dealing with wastewater isn't optional. It's driven by, environmental needs, public health demands. It means massive ongoing investment in clean water infrastructure everywhere. It's about everything from basic screens to, super advanced membrane filtration and disinfection tech.
Okay, so it's essential stuff. Let's unpack where this growth is happening. Where should we start? How about North America?
Good place to start. North America shows really robust performance. It was valued at just over $8.3 billion in 2021. That's set to climb to about $10 million by 2025, and then reach nearly $14.7 billion by 2033. The CAGR there is 4.855%. Solid growth.
Almost 5%. And within North America?
Well, the U.S. is the giant, obviously. It was around $6.8 billion in 2021, projected to hit almost $11.8 billion by 2033. That's a 4.7% CAGR. Canada is also strong, starting at $950 million, heading towards $1.8 billion by 2033. That's actually a slightly higher CAGR, over 5.5%. And Mexico, too, showing good growth. From about $609 million in 2021, projected to reach almost $1.1 billion by 2033, growing at just over 5%.
So North America is investing steadily, upgrading, expanding. How does that compare with Europe? Similar situation with established infrastructure.
It is similar in many ways, yes. Europe's another, very significant market, generated over $7 billion back in 2021, expected to rise to over $8.5 billion in 2025, and the projection for 2033 is around $12.7 billion. The overall KGR for Europe is just slightly higher than North America, is actually at 5.076%.
Okay, and within Europe, any standouts?
Definitely some variations. Germany, for example, has the highest growth rate in Europe, is about $1.46 billion in 2021, and is projected to hit over $2.8 billion by 2033. That's a CAGR of 5.75%. Quite strong.
Why so high in Germany, do you think?
Likely a combination of factors. Strong industrial base, very strict environmental regulations, maybe a big push on adopting newer, more efficient technologies. Then you have the UK growing steadily around 5.4%, France a bit slower at 4.5%, Italy around 4.7%, Spain and Sweden are also showing good growth, both over 5.2%.
And any that are lagging.
Russia shows the slowest growth in the figures, just 3.675% CAGR. Luxembourg is also lower, around 3.4%. But even the slower growth rates show continued investment. It's still an upward trend pretty much across the board. The rest of Europe category also shows over 5% growth.
Okay, established markets holding steady, investing. But now, Asia Pacific. You mentioned this is where things get really interesting, the biggest growth contributor.
Absolutely. Asia Pacific is, it's the powerhouse in this market right now.
Yeah.
Recorded over $11 billion in 2021, already bigger than North America or Europe back then, projected to reach over $14 billion by 2025. And then a massive $22.6 billion by 2033. The CAGR there is 6.149%. That's significantly higher than the global average.
Wow. Okay, who's driving that? China, I assume?
China is a huge part of it, yes. Started at over $3 billion in 2021, projected to more than double, reaching nearly $6.4 billion by 2033. That's a 6.36% CAGR. Massive scale. Japan is also significant, around $2.1 billion going up to $4 billion, growing at about 5.6%.
But you mentioned something surprising, India.
India. This is the standout statistic, really. India shows the highest growth globally, a CAGR of 7.086%.
Over 7%.
Exactly. Starting from about $1.4 billion in 2021, it's projected to hit almost $3.2 billion by 2033. It reflects, huge government focus, massive infrastructure projects like the Clean Ganga mission, rapid industrialization, just an urgent need.
That's incredible. What about other parts of APAC?
South Korea shows solid growth around 5.5% CAGR. Australia, just under 5.3%.
Yeah.
Singapore is another high flyer, actually, over 6.4% CAGR. And Southeast Asia as a region is growing very fast, too, around 6.7% CAGR. Taiwan also strong at 5.7%. It's really broad-based growth across the entire region, driven by population, industry, and increasing environmental awareness.
Okay, that APAC picture, especially India's surge, is really something. Let's pivot now to the other emerging markets. South America, the Middle East, Africa. What's happening there?
Right. These regions show significant potential, too, often starting from a lower base but with strong growth rates. South America, for instance. It grew from nearly $1.8 billion in 2021. It's projected to hit about $2.26 billion in 2025, and then over $3.5 billion by 2033. That's a CAGR of 5.811%.
Pretty strong growth. Any particular countries leading the charge?
Argentina actually shows the highest growth rate in South America, over 6.3% CAGR. Brazil is the largest market in sheer size, growing steadily at about 5.7%. Chile and the rest of South America category also show CDRs around 6%. Colombia and Peru are a bit over 5%, so again, pretty widespread investment.
Okay, and the Middle East, often dealing with water scarcity issues there.
Exactly. Water security is a huge driver there.
Yeah.
The market grew from roughly $1.4 billion in 2021, expected to reach $1.75 billion in 2025, and then $2.7 billion by 2033. The CAGR is around 5.7%.
And within the Middle East.
The UAE stands out with the highest growth, over 6.3% CAGR. Lots of development, focus on water reuse technology. Turkey also shows strong growth, just over 6%. Saudi Arabia is the largest market, growing at nearly 5.8%. Egypt, Qatar also contributing significantly. It's a region really focused on leveraging technology for water management.
Makes sense. And finally, Africa.
Africa started at about $1.3 billion in 2021, rising to over $1.7 billion in 2025, and projected to hit nearly $2.6 billion by 2033. The overall CAGR for Africa is about 5.156%.
And the key players there.
South Africa has the highest growth rate, almost 5.7% CAGR. It's also the largest single market shown. Nigeria also shows significant growth potential, around 5.4% CAGR, driven by its huge population. The rest of Africa category shows slower growth, just under 4.4%, indicating that development might be more concentrated in certain hubs, but the overall trend is still upward, often about building fundamental infrastructure here.
So we've toured the globe, seen these numbers. Steady growth in established regions, explosive growth in Asia-Pacific, strong potential in South America, Middle East, Africa. When you put it all together, what's the main story these figures tell us?
I think the overarching narrative is one of undeniable global momentum. This isn't just one or two regions, it's practically everywhere. Wastewater filtration is clearly seen as a critical investment. It connects directly to, well, fundamental needs: environmental protection, public health, sustainable development, resource management. We're seeing a really universal commitment reflected in these billions of dollars to managing water more responsibly. It's about infrastructure, yes, but it's also about health and the environment on a planetary scale.
What a fascinating deep dive. The big takeaway seems clear. This market is booming globally, driven by needs that just aren't going away. It's a massive investment in clean water and environmental health everywhere.
And it really makes you think. It raises a crucial question for the future, doesn't it? As countries everywhere keep pouring billions into wastewater filtration, driven by these twin engines of environmental necessity and infrastructure upgrades, how is this going to reshape things? How might these trends impact public health outcomes, the way we manage precious water resources, maybe even how countries cooperate on environmental policy over the next decade?
That's definitely something to chew on. What could these huge investments in cleaner water mean for your community, for the world? We hope this gave you a clear, engaging look at this really vital global industry. Thanks for diving deep with us.